So, so I contact Dave and I say, okay, here's the deal. I think that you should chair this con, and I think that there is no one on earth but me who is gonna go for that. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna chair this con, and you're gonna come on as my vice chair. And over the course of the year, you're kinda gonna get promoted to my co-chair. And by the time the con runs around, we're probably still gonna be co-chairs, but you're basically gonna be in charge. So, that is in fact what happened. And so over the course of the ensuing year, there were, Dave and I spent a lot of time going out for beers, where he drank a lot of beer and I didn't. And we talked about all of the ways that we were gonna solve the problem of Capricon. So at the first one of our sessions of beers, I pitched him on my brilliant idea of a theme, which wasn't particularly brilliant. And then he pitched me on his idea for a theme, which was brilliant. His idea for a theme was, a theme should have one word, and it should immediately, that one word should immediately evoke something potent in anybody who hears it, but the thing that it evokes should be different for everyone. And the word that year was villains. And I was like, you know, I don't like it, but it's brilliant, so we're gonna do that.
There we go.
Ah yes, villains rule, but they can't spell. Yes, that was our awesome program book cover.
The program book cover that makes me want to kill myself.
I know, right? Like, really? Is that the best we can do? It's so much potential. There it is, dashed against the rocks of reality.
When you tell your program book person, hey look, there's a misspelling on the cover, we should fix that. And they go, okay, we'll fix it. And rather than fixing the typo, they scratch it out and say, but we can't spell. That makes you feel so good.
Yeah, well, they can't all be winners. So we put together a GonCom. We figured out how to run,
actually,
this is as much you as me. We did this together.
Even before that, the important part of the convention was this.
Right.
We had no money.
Yeah.
I had a good job, and I somehow owned my own house, and I don't know how that happened. But as soon as I owned my own house,
adult things that happened to you that I'm not sure how that ever
as soon as I owned my own house, without asking for it, suddenly people were mailing me valid credit cards, which I had previously avoided, which is how I had money to even have a house. So now I had a credit card with a reasonably high limit, because we needed things. The convention needs money during the year to happen, and the convention had no money. So I put the convention on my credit card. Now it was not this card, because I was with Chevy Chase at the time, and I thought it was awesome that this comedian was giving me money so that I could run the convention. But my little Chevy Chase Gold card financed the con because we didn't have any other money.
Yep.
And I'm like, and because when Tracy came to me about this, first off, I'm a raving egomaniac, so any fear of, oh my God, can I even do this? None of that shit at all. I know I can do this.
That was part of my calculus, make no mistake about it.
That was,
it was clear to me by then. I long since know that Dave had a really bad case of how hard it can be.
But not just ego. I had reasonable work experience because my job, I'm a software developer, but that's only half of my job. The other half of my job is project management. And a convention is a project. I understand how to run a project. I don't have to understand how to do any piece of the project. I just need to know how to judge if somebody knows what they're talking about and how to monitor their progress. You don't need subject matter expertise to do that. So actually, coming in at the top as chairman is the job that somebody from the outside is most qualified to do, in a strange way.
True that. And we had a couple of leftovers, people from previous conventions who were pretty good at their jobs and willing to do them again, and then we had some new people that we brought in, people you brought in, people I brought in.
But the thing is to talk about it, so first there's the no money, we gotta put the convention on the credit card. And then there's the, okay, what are we spending money on, what do we need to change? Because up until this point, nobody's been able to say, there's no free staff rooms. Well, now I have something that no previous chairman or board of directors has ever had. We're bankrupt.
You have debt.
That's awesome. I mean, it's terrible when you see the corporate world where they engineer a bankruptcy to do whatever they want. This was not engineered. We were really bankrupt. We can't operate the same way we operated before. So I remember the carefully, for me, probably really terrible email, but to people saying, this is the world we're in. These are things that we can't do anymore, and it's not because we don't want to do them. You know, we'd love to be able to do this for you if we could, but we've demonstrated that we can't. We can't do this. If we do this, the convention dies, so we need to stop doing this. And if this means that you can't participate, we don't think poorly of you. We understand and we're sorry, and you know, we'd like to work with you again if you ever want to, but if this means you can't help, thank you for everything you've done up to now, and let us know so we can try to find somebody who can do the job. And we lost a few people over that, you know, but honestly, only a few. For the Con-Con, you know, and not everybody for the Con-Con was automatically going to be coming back, but there were people that we kind of wanted to come back. You know, we needed things where you need lots of experience, like hotel liaison. You need a lot of experience in hotel liaison to do a good job, and so we didn't want the hotel liaison to go, and the hotel liaison did not go. But you know, so we lost some people there, and we changed. It was part of changing the culture, and then of course. Now, what Tracy didn't talk about at the theme was where we came up with the theme was where it was like a barbecue at Tracy's house, and we're sitting around and we're spitballing ideas, and then suddenly, you know, Tracy says her idea, and then suddenly I'm like hopping up and down in my seat. I got it, because you know I have a tiny bit of self-awareness, and I know what my reputation amongst most people basically is. So if I'm going to be in charge, what the fuck else would you call the convention? Villains.
Valid point.
Now, because we are at a convention that had, you know, we had a convention that had $8,000 of debt to our facility, where's the one hotel in the town that we cannot hold the convention at? The Holiday Inn. We owe the Holiday Inn $8,000. There's no going back to the Holiday Inn. And the fact that we owe the Holiday Inn $8,000 makes going anywhere else really tough. But we have to go somewhere else if we're going to hold the convention and make money and pay our debt. And so now my brain is thinking, and we're looking at these various sites, and the first place we look at is kind of cool, but it, you know, and the hotel liaison is very pro on the first site that we're like, this is where we need to be. And I'm looking at it, and you look at the space, and you're like, how does the convention lay out in the space? Where would things be? And it wasn't the best. And there was this one other option, which was a terrible, terrible option. But honestly, where else were you going to be? So we've decided to theme the convention villains, and our second choice for hotel space was the Arlington Park Sheraton. It was Sheraton.
Yes, it was a Sheraton.
Which was the site of Capricon 8. For the people that don't know, Capricon 8 was dubbed by most of the attendees as NaziCon. We had a horrible relationship with that hotel. The night manager was the son of the owner and didn't care what the contract said. He didn't like parties, he didn't like noise, he didn't like us. So when the night staff came on, everything that had been going so nicely during the day got shut down, turned around, turned off, go down, sit there, or we're throwing you off the property. And then when daytime came around, the daytime staff would be very apologetic and say that we're going to fix it, and we're very sorry that this happened, and we'll try to make sure it doesn't happen again. And then the son of the owner that night gets to do whatever the hell he wants again. And so it was, we'll fix it, no we won't, we'll fix it, no we won't. And it was awesome that the people during the day were very apologetic and nice, but they were powerless to stop the problem.
Right.
So it was a horrible convention for us. Where else are you going to go for villains but right back to there?
Everyone you remember is dead. We made sure.
That was the tagline. If we have to bid the Hyatt, that's what we do. Yes, because it's a good line. So you know, things start falling into place, and it's very cool. But of course, just the staff rooms isn't the only thing, because here's the thing. I'm, you know, asked to be in charge of this convention, and I know that by the time I get to the end, I'm going to be the executive. Well, there's this board of directors, and at this point, the board of directors is, and I hope I can say this without making anybody angry at me, but this is just how it seemed from where I was. Okay. The board of directors was full of the people who were the most burned out, is how it felt to me.
I think that's very fair.
And none of the board of directors were working jobs on the convention. So they were remote, and I didn't know who they were, and I didn't know what they looked like, and they weren't helping right the ship in a way that I could see, okay? And I'm not saying that that meant they were doing nothing, but as the person that's in charge of the event and trying to do this stuff, I felt like it was on me, and it didn't feel like there was a lot of help from the board of directors. So there's also something basically materially broken at that level too. And so, fixing the convention things were easier fixes, but fixing the board of directors things were harder choices. And what do we do about that?
Because it was complicated, it was invisible, and it was above our pay grade.
But there also wasn't clear, simple answers.
Right.
I don't think. Not like, hey, we can't afford to pay for staff rooms. That's a clear, simple answer.
Right.
And yes, somebody will get mad at me, but it's something where I can go, you know what? I know that I'm right, and I know that you feel angry, but you're not right. But at the board of directors, I can't do that way. So we roll forward to, what was the relaxed economy we were at?
We were at Congenial. So this was, was that before or after the con? I don't remember.
It was before the con, because we had the meeting at the con.
Okay.
All
right. So Capricon 19 is rolling happily along, and we are at Congenial, which is a lovely little, or is or was, I don't know if it still exists, but
it was a lovely relaxed con just over the border
in Racine, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And Dave and Mike and I.
It's basically a con suite and a hot tub.
Pretty much. It's a wicked con suite.
Yeah.
So Dave and Mike Becula and I are sitting in the con suite, and we get to talking about how to solve this board of directors, this corporate level problem that this convention is having. And over the course of, God, it must have been hours, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, we were there forever.
It was over 2 days. It was like 5 hours each day for 2 days. So,
yeah.
So like 10 hours of stuff talking about problems, what do we do? So of course the things that we're trying to engineer are fixes to the problems that we see. And so this problem of the board being disconnected was kind of the first answer we came up with. Mm-hmm. Okay, which was, we didn't want board of directors to be who they were and just be done, and that's it, and it changes whenever and however. I wanted the board of directors to be like the Senate of the United States. I wanted
only less corrupt.
Only less corrupt. I wanted, there was a 3-year term, and then you were reelected. So if there's 6 of them, every year we're electing 2. So that the people who are on the board of directors, even if they're burned out when they get there, are only there for 3 years and then they go away. And to make
there's a mandatory 1-year cooling off period after your term too.
Because what we put in the rules was we wanted to make sure that the people in the board of directors were involved in the convention. So there was a requirement to even be on the board. You had to work on the convention, and any work you did while you were a member of the board of directors does not count.
Right.
So as soon as your term is done with board of directors, you're no longer eligible to be reelected to the board until you work on the convention again.
For at least a year.
That way, if people want to keep going onto the board, they have to keep reconnecting with the convention, so that the people in charge the people at the top are always connected to how things are now. Because one of the things that felt wrong was it felt like the people who were at the board of directors were connected to how things were 10 years previously and not how things were now.
Right.
So that's why we made that that's why we advocated for a change that way.
Yeah. Over the course of that weekend, basically, we wrote an entire set of bylaws for the corporation that was completely different from its previous bylaws, and took that set of bylaws to Capricon 19.
Well, and basically asked the board of directors to have a board meeting at Capricon, and to have
which they should have been doing anyway.
Which they should have been, because the other thing was we wanted voting by the membership of who the board of directors are, so that we know who the board is. Because before we didn't know who the board is, we didn't folks who are not everybody kind of knows. The Concom is sort of this nebulous thing that it's hard to understand how to get connected with, and the board of directors is even more so. It's more arcane, and you don't even know who they are and where are they.
I mean, if you gone to any member of Capricon in the early 90s and said, so, did you know that Capricon has a parent organization? They'd be like, what?
Yeah. So we wanted, so part of what we wanted to do was to change that, making sure there was a required open board meeting at the convention where the membership voted on who the board of directors were, to sort of fight what we felt like was this, multiple levels of disconnection from the active community here. And then, so we asked the board of directors to schedule a meeting at the convention where we would talk about this, and we asked for it to be a public meeting where anybody who cared about it from the convention population could show up. Now, we had, as the executive of the event, I had a reasonable fear of being swamped by people who wanted to express an opinion but didn't care enough. So I wanted to make sure that we picked a time where only the people who cared were going to show up.
Yep.
So no shit, we scheduled the meeting for 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. So there's Guido with his vomit bucket between his knees because he's still not sober. But he cares enough to be there, and while he still screams at me today about what an asshole I was, I'm saying, look how much you cared, You cared enough to vomit the very best. But the board meeting happened, and when the board got up there, we presented, here's this way that we'd like things to operate differently. We think that if this happened, things would be better. And this means, honestly speaking, first off, the board of directors at that time was more than 6 people. And this means what we'd like to do is we'd like for you guys to decide that all but 4 of you are done being a board of director person today. And we'd like to vote on 2 new board members today. And we'd like your 4 people to say 2 people are going to serve for 1 more year and 2 people are going to serve for 2 more years. And we're going to start this system now. And the kind of stuff that we're saying is the kind of shit that starts wars and starts fights. And to their great credit, and that way better than I would ever do if somebody was saying this shit to me, they sat there and they cared about the event more than themselves. And they partnered with us. And they're like, you know what? First off, a couple of them straight up are like, wait a minute, somebody's gonna take this shit off my plate? Fucking yay. There was definitely some of that. But they